Hello, my name is Layton. I'm an intuitive and a mystic, and today I wanted to talk about the psychic's connection to the body. When I was first coming into these topics and on Google and YouTube, looking up ways to improve on my ability, I had come across all of this stuff talking about astral projection and you know, um, how to strengthen the third eye. Everything seemed to be about the upper chakra system. There was this emphasis on leaving the body, this emphasis on the idea that psychic phenomenon exists outside of us, that it's something that we can't find within our own bodies. We have to lay down and get in this really quiet place and teach ourselves how to leave our bodies so that we can go retrieve it. This is the information that I came across when looking up things such as clairvoyance, mediumship, the Akashic records, anything of that nature. And I am just shocked and amazed at times with how wrong that actually ended up being, with how false that information is. But I'm not surprised that false information is what is being pushed because I think that there's kind of this collective push right now towards dissociation and detachment. I feel like that is very obvious when we look at the things that people are struggling with in their personal lives, the ways that people are struggling within their identities, and kind of the problems that we're facing in society as a whole. People don't want to be in their body. They don't even want to be on earth. It's the last place that they want to be. But the irony of that is that our embodiment, our ability to be grounded, our ability to be calm, to be centered, to be present, that is what is going to help us grow. That is where we're going to evolve the most. So, what I really wanted to talk about is that the physical body is not just the vessel for the psychic. The physical body is where our psychic power lies. The physical body is quite literally the vehicle for higher realms, for higher beings, and it is in our connection to our physical body that we will see the most soul and emotional and mental evolution. It is within that space that we will see the most initiation in our lives, and we will really start to see those fruits of the spirit manifest within us. And one reason why that's really true is because in order for us to be the master of ourselves and be the master of our own lives, we have to be the only thing that our vessel is containing. And by that, I mean, if we are leaving our bodies all the time and just opening doors left and right within our etheric body, what do you think is going to happen? Things are going to start to come in that don't reflect us. Things are going to start to infiltrate that we may not actually resonate with, but over time, will we really even be able to tell the difference anymore? We don't necessarily want to be paranoid about these things, but it's not something that we even have to worry about if we're coming from a place where we are very grounded within the heart and very present within the body. So I feel like this is something that's really important to talk about because, like I said, we kind of see the opposite push in spiritual communities, especially if you are new to spirituality and you're just entering into these kind of topics, it can be almost impossible. You're seeing an avalanche of all of this conflicting information. And what I'm sharing with you right now might come off as some of that conflicting information, but it is very ancient. It's very primal. It is quite literally coded into us. We came into these bodies for a reason. We don't have to leave them to experience spirituality. In fact, Earth is the spiritual experience. Earth is a school, a spiritual school. And it seems like we've forgotten that. We've forgotten that, and we want to leave our bodies and we want to go somewhere else because we're not happy with what we're learning here. But as long as we do that, we are going to be running so far from our spirit and so far from our soul that we won't even know who we are anymore. And if we don't know who we are, how can we connect to what we are? We have to come back to a place where we not only remember and understand the importance of our bodies, but we remember and understand the divinity of them. That our physical body is something that is very sacred. It is something that was given to us. It was intended to hold the spirit. It was intended to house angelic forces. And in order for that to happen, we have to be grounded into the body completely. And from that state of being very grounded and very present and very centered, we can create within ourselves a kind of stability and a kind of neutrality and calm that enables us to enter into these topics in a way that isn't going to be overwhelming, but especially in a way that's not going to be devastating. Because unfortunately, when we enter into these topics from a place of being very ungrounded, it is devastating. And I know because I've been there. When I first started venturing into psychic work and the paranormal, all of those things, I entered into it from a place where I was already very dissociated. I was dissociated from trauma and abuse, and I saw spirituality as an escape from my life, literally. I saw it as something that gave me an out. It made me special. It was something that where I felt like I didn't have to relate to the real world anymore. I was now above the real world, I didn't have to be a part of that if I didn't want to be. That's how I saw it. And from that state, what do you think happens? We become so vulnerable to anything that comes in and says, you're right. You should leave your body. You shouldn't be here. You're not from Earth. You're from another planet, or whatever it is that these lower beings want to say. So from that place, I began to learn that all psychic information is not equal. And this is something that I want to go a lot deeper into in another video. But the importance of us being very embodied isn't just to protect ourselves from these lower astral beings. It's also because when we are in our body, that is truly the only way that we can experience time correctly. And by that, I mean that as we are on Earth, as we are in this Earth school, everything is happening according to a specific time. And there is a time and a pattern that is coded very deep within the spirit and very deep within the body. It is quite literally part of our DNA. Now, when we are detached from that, we might get psychic information that is technically correct, but it's not going to be literally correct. The way that we view time, the way that we view the future and the past, the way that we process our past, not just for ourselves and in our personal life, but for humanity, is going to be very distorted. We are not going to be able to process that in a sober way, because we are going to be processing that from a state of already being very detached. So what I mean when I say that something might be technically correct is maybe we know details about what did happen, or maybe we know details about what's going to happen, but it won't be literally correct in the sense that either the timing is going to be off or we are going to be missing key aspects of history that we need in order to properly see the way that things are going to pan out. So these are things that we can only get from a place where we are very embodied. Now, how do we become very embodied? If we are chronically dissociated, chronically dysregulated, chronically detached, how do we move from that state? And that is where the nervous system regulation comes in. And if you have been watching my videos for a while, you're probably like, oh my gosh, the nervous system again. But literally, this is the foundation for everything. It is unavoidable. We can't, from a dysregulated place where we have no control over not only our own life, but what's happening within our body. We can't then, from that place, expect to have control over the information that we are pulling in, over what we are connecting to, over anything in that realm. So first and foremost, we need to get regulated. And there are so many different ways that we can do that. In the future, I would also like to talk about diet and how diet can impact the nervous system. There's not one special diet that one needs that's going to, make you spiritual or anything like that. But if we are eating in a way where we have no self-control and we are not being mindful of how it's affecting the nervous system, that will impact things. So when we're looking at regulating the nervous system to develop psychically, we want to make sure that we have no addiction. We want to make sure that our diet is healthy and well-rounded and that it's something that's working for us and helps our body be in a state of balance. That's really what nervous system regulation is about. It's not about reaching this destination where suddenly we're calm and happy all the time, because that is not realistic. It's about achieving balance within the self. And that's something that I just feel like is really, really lacking. It was lacking within my own life for many, many years. So no more addiction. We want to really do whatever we can to come out of a place of addiction. I have videos where I go more in depth on how to get out of a place of self-harm, because that's what addiction is. Diet is very important. We want to have a strong meditation practice, and it doesn't even have to be, I'm sitting down and I have my fingers ready and my eyes closed and I'm like in the position and I'm listening to a gong in the background. It doesn't have to be that at all. Your meditation can be a state where you are just so aware and mindful of everything. Not aware in the sense of being like paranoid or on edge, but just mindful. What am I thinking right now? What sensations are coming up in my body? What am I feeling? What am I doing physically? And just try to be as present as possible. That alone is a very powerful meditation. We want to make sure that we're breathing correctly, because if we aren't breathing correctly, it's going to be really hard to feel embodied. We're going to be so dysregulated, especially if we have very shallow breathing or very fast breathing. Something that helps me maintain embodiment and regulation is bringing everything down to a pace that is just a little bit slow. My breathing is slower. My speaking is slower. If I'm walking, my walking is slower. For me, that's what works. For you, it may be something else. It's all about, like I said, finding that balance within us. But when we can come into harmony within the physical body, that is when we are going to begin to see so much change around us, and especially psychically, especially in our inner world, in what we are perceiving clairvoyantly. Because earlier, when I was saying that all psychic information is not equal, something else that is really, really important, and this is really big for embodiment, is that in order for us to perceive things correctly, we have to be embodied, because if we aren't embodied, we don't know who we are. We don't know what we're feeling. We don't know what we're thinking. And so, what are we going to do from that state? We are going to project, and we won't even know what's us and what's not us. And we might be looking at something, and what we are perceiving clairvoyantly, we are only going to perceive the layer that we are currently tapped into. So if we are very dysregulated and coming from a detached, dysregulated place, we are going to be perceiving the lowest of what we could be tapping into. That's just the science. That's just how it works. So this isn't about, like raising your vibration or anything like that. It's about being grounded and embodied and reminding yourself to come back into the heart, come back into your physical body. Are my feet firmly planted into the ground? Am I focusing on my breathing? Am I aware of my surroundings? Do I feel calm? Can I make myself feel calm if I don't? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to take a shower? What do I need to do to bring myself back into a state of calm and inner harmony? That way, we can perceive things for what they are, not for what we are, or not through what we are. Because whatever is happening in the inner world is going to taint our perception of the outer world. We are literally going to be viewing it through that lens. So Rudolf Steiner talks about the development of the higher nervous system, and I believe that that's what this is. So much of us are operating out of the lower nervous system, which is that state where we are very dysregulated and we are kind of locked and trapped within the lower emotions. And when we do that, we're just automatically connecting to the lower astral. And this is nothing to be ashamed of because we can't always help how regulated we are. There are many things that can contribute to chronic dysregulation. So this is nothing to feel ashamed of, and it's also nothing to fear. It's just something to be mindful of. And through that mindfulness, we can slowly bring ourselves up into that higher nervous system where we are very relaxed and we are very calm. I used to be like the most manic individual. I am not even kidding you. So manic. And I just feel like I have so much calm inside of me now. Not 24/7. I'm not walking around feeling completely at peace all the time, but I can regulate myself enough to where no matter what I'm going through and no matter what's happening around me, I have that to come back into. I can anchor myself back into that, and so can you. So that's just what I wanted to talk about today, especially since my YouTube channel is fairly new and not everyone knows what I'm about or what I believe in. And considering I want to be mainly focusing on how to develop psychically through the nervous system and through a focus on somatics, I figured I may as well give a little introductory to that. So if you have watched this, thank you so much for listening and for being here with me. I so appreciate it.